to my video. This video is the start of my Season 17 reviews of Deadliest Catch. And this season is gonna be pretty crazy. There's gonna be storms and big waves, and about 50% of the fleet is up in Dutch Harbor. Normally there'd be a lot more boats, but since the COVID-19 pandemic is going on, a lot of the crab boats didn't want to go up there and deal with the coronavirus, so 50% of the fleet stayed in Seattle, and the government did not go out and do any crab studies. And normally when the crab fleet goes out, they know where the crab is because of those studies, but this time they don't, so they're all gonna have to work together. And a lot of the captains might be a little apprehensive because when they're on really hot fishing, sometimes they won't exactly tell the truth. They'll lie and be like, oh, we're on really bad numbers, when actually they're on really good numbers. So the captains are really gonna have to trust each other, because if they don't, the crab fishing industry could be shut down for 2 or 3 years. And if that happens, that means that the Russians will likely take over the market, and the U.S. crabbing fleet will not be able to recuperate after that. This episode starts out with the Northwestern, and the Northwestern is just getting into Dutch Harbor from heading up from Seattle. And they get there, and Dutch Harbor is pretty empty because a lot of boats stayed in Seattle. So they're gonna have to get legends to come out and go crab fishing this season. And then it shows the Summer Bay, the Saga, Lady Alaska, the Cornelia Marie, and the Wizard. It shows them all talking about the fishery and what they're gonna go through. And then it shows Sig in Seattle. He goes to Johnathan Hillstrand's house, and he finds Johnathan working on his old car. And he's like, that was really easy to find because it had the Time Bandit markings. And so he goes and he's like, you have a little bit of time to talk, Johnathan? And Jonathan's like, yeah, I just gotta change this filter on this car. So he gets that changed, and then he's like, let's go for a ride in my car. And Sig was like, take it easy. And Johnathan starts smoking the tires out of his driveway and goes into the street and just starts driving pretty crazy. And Sig's like, whoa! But they were having a good time, and then they park up, and Sig is like, Johnathan, the fleet could really use you guys to come out of retirement to help save our crabbing industry. Because the Hillstrands' dad and the Hansen's dad, they are some of the founding fathers of the crab fishing industry up in Alaska. Johnathan's like, I gotta talk to my wife, Heather. Johnathan didn't give Sig a definite yes, but he's really contemplating on going. Then it goes to the Wizard, and the Wizard's in Dutch Harbor, and they're making some repairs. Keith is in the engine room, and he sees that a pipe is leaking air, so they have to fix it. And in one of the crew quarters, there's a giant hole in the roof where the steel had rusted through, and you could see out into the sky. And there's some other spots where the Wizard has a hole in it, so they're making those repairs to it. And then it goes to the Lady Alaska, and they're just talking, and it shows Scott Campbell Jr. He's going to talk to Keith on the Wizard, because when he was cod fishing with the Seabrook, he gathered information where King Crab was, and he was going to try and give Keith that information for some extra quota for the Lady Alaska. And that didn't go so well. It ended up with a pretty big argument and Scott leaving the Wizard. After Scott left, Keith was like, I'm not trusting him, I'm not working with him because he hasn't trusted him in the past. Then it goes to the Saga, and the Saga is a little ways out in Dutch Harbor, and he calls the Northwestern, and the Northwestern was just about to go get another 10,000 gallons of fuel to go out fishing, and they hear Jake call him over the radio, and he was like, I think we sucked some line into our prop because it won't move and we're kind of drifting. So Sig was like, okay, we'll come give you a tow. And then the Northwestern comes up to the Saga, and they start looking, and they're like, we don't see anything. And then all of a sudden, the Time Bandit and Johnathan come by right next to the Northwestern, and then he's like, hello, Northwestern. Then after that happens, Johnathan and the Time Bandit crew, they start shooting a bunch of paintballs at the Northwestern, making the Northwestern a colorful boat instead of its just normal colors. While the Time Bandit crew is shooting paintballs at the Northwestern, the Sagan crew have a bunch of fireworks attached to their pot launcher. They aim it right at the Northwestern and they start shooting fireworks at the Northwestern. And after a little bit, Sig's like, ceasefire, ceasefire, stop, you're damaging my boat. And then they stop and they're all laughing and Sig's like, you're all dead to me. And he's like, I'm glad you guys are back, Johnathan. And after that, Mandy is staring out the window of the Northwestern and someone from the Time Bandit shoots one more paintball and it lands right in front of Mandy's face and they were both surprised. It was pretty funny. And then it shows all the boats getting all their pots on and getting ready to start the season because the next day the Deadliest Catch fleet will head out into the Bering Sea to go fishing. They're all getting ready to go out, and then later that night all the captains get together and stand right by a burning barrel, and Sig is like, we all need to work together. Even if we don't all trust each other, we need to work together because if we don't, this fishery is not going to succeed. So they all agree to work with each other and give each other information to help them get on the crab and have successful seasons. The next day it shows all of the boats getting ready to cast line from Dutch Harbor, and right before the summer bay getting ready to take off with the fleet, Nick has a cough and he's not feeling good, so Wild Bill hears about it and he shuts down the main engines and he has the guys put up the flag on the bow, and he gets a doctor in to check in on Nick and make sure he doesn't have COVID. And then it shows all the boats, except for the summer bay, leaving Dutch Harbor, and they're all together getting ready to start the season. And once they all get out to a specific point, they all break off into different directions and get ready to go set some pots. Then they all get out to the grounds and they all start setting their gear in the specific spots so they can work a giant 100,000 mile square space of the Bering Sea where they need to all look and find the mass schools of crabs so they can all work all together to catch their quotas. So they get that set and all the boats start hauling in their gear after the pots have soaked for 24 hours. A lot of the boats are getting 10 king crab or less, which is not the best. And the Northwestern, they get to their first pot, and their first pot has 24 king crab in it. And from there, it just keeps getting better and better. Then the Deadliest Catch fleet tries to get a hold of him, and Sig is kind of ignoring him for a little bit. And it switches from each boat trying to get in touch with him, and then after a little bit, Sig doesn't tell him exactly where he is, but he tells him he's getting really good numbers. Then it goes to the summer bay, and the summer bay is in Dutch Harbor still, and the doctor comes on board and gives Nick a COVID-19 test to make sure he doesn't have COVID-19. And then it goes to the Northwestern and Sig is like, I'm gonna go get some coffee. And so Mandy takes over the wheelhouse and she reaches out to Jake to tell him where there's good crab because Jake is not on good fishing, and they come up with their own secret code, a whistle, over the radio, and then they'd switch to their specific channel where they'd talk and give each other information. Jake gets the information and he's gonna start heading up to where the Northwestern is. Then it goes to the Cornelia Marie, and the Cornelia Marie is on their gear. The first pots they pull in do really good, and also, earlier on in the episode, Johnathan came up to the Cornelia Marie because Johnathan was hoping to have his brother Andy on the Time Bandit with him as a relief skipper, but Andy was sick and Andy found out he had come down with COVID-19. So Johnathan was looking for a relief skipper, so he went to the Cornelia Marie and asked Josh and Casey if Josh could come be his relief skipper for king crab season. Once he asked them, Josh and Casey were like, give us a little bit and we'll talk about it. And after they talked about it for a while, Josh is going to go over to the Time Bandit for king crab season. So Casey's all alone in the wheelhouse of the Cornelia Marie. And they also have their friend Jeff Silva from Deadliest Catch Bloodline. He's the greenhorn on the Cornelia Marie this season, and he's not used to the role of a big 130-foot fishing vessel. He's used to a smaller boat. While they're leaving Dutch Harbor, Jeff gets a little seasick, and then after they'd set their gear, Casey asked Jeff to go cook dinner, and he's not used to cooking, and everything is kind of swaying and moving around in the kitchen. And he gets dinner cooked, and then while he's going up the stairs, he loses his balance and hits his head pretty hard, and he has a pretty bad concussion. The Cornelia Marie is on really good fishing. Then the Time Bandit calls him and asks him how the fishing's doing. He's like, it's not doing so good. It's anywhere from 13 to 19 king crab per pot. He's like, it's nothing special. Then it goes to the Wizard, and the Wizard and the Lady Alaska, they're pretty close to each other, working in the same area but in different spots, and all of a sudden, they're in a storm that was not on the radar, and they're battling big waves, and the conditions are just not good, and the fishing is not very good. Keith decides to set his gear back on not very good numbers. What Scott does on the Lady Alaska, he's backing his gear, and he takes himself off the AIS, and he's like, we're gonna go to my coordinates where the fishing is good. Then it goes to the Northwestern, and the Northwestern is hauling in their gear, and Sig is at the helm of the Northwestern, and all of a sudden he sees pots all around his pots, and he and Mandy look up the numbers of the pots, and Sig realizes that it's Jake's pots on the Saga, and Mandy's like, I gave Jake information. I didn't tell him exactly where we were, but I told him to set in the ravine. And Sig calls Jake over the radio, and he's like, this isn't gonna work for me. Jake's like, I'm not setting on top of you. I'm spreading them all over the place to figure out where the crab is to help us and the fleet. They kind of get into a little argument. We'll see how it works out over the next episode. Then it goes to the Summer Bay, and the Summer Bay is still in Dutch Harbor, and Wild Bill gets the call from the doctor after the 24-hour wait from the COVID-19 test, and for Nick, and that test comes back negative. He's all good, but he's still kind of feeling a little sick, so Wild Bill lets him know, and then the crew gets ready to leave dock and go out king crab fishing. And then Johnathan and Josh called Casey and ask him how is the fishing doing, and Casey gives them the same kind of thing, and Josh is like, he's not telling us the truth. What Johnathan does is, he's like, I got night vision goggles. We're gonna go pay the Cornelia Marie a visit and see what's really going on. So they take themselves off the AIS tracker, and then they turn all their lights off and go and find the Cornelia Marie, and they stalk them for about 10 minutes, and they see the pots, 50 plus average of king crab, and they're big crab. They see what's going on, and they call Casey, and they're like, you're lying to us, you're not telling us the full truth. Casey just keeps on rambling, and he's digging himself a bigger grave. Johnathan turns all the lights on the Time Bandit, and he's like, we got ya, we know you're on real good fishing. And Casey and Josh are all giving each other crap and arguing a little bit, and the fleet is like, we'll see how long this partnership with all the boats really lasts. They were all enjoying the little battle that Cornelia Marie and Time Bandit were having. And then the Saga pulls a pot in the area they moved to by the Northwestern, and they're getting really good numbers. And that is episode 1 of season 17 of Deadliest Catch ends. I hope you guys enjoy this review of Deadliest Catch, and there's going to be more episode reviews to come, so stay tuned for those. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the bell icon down below so you can be notified when I upload videos. Also, please share this video with your friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you guys for watching, and if you ain't dreaming, you ain't living. Don't forget to dream big.